What if the world you see isn't the real world? What if your identity is constantly changing without you noticing? And what if morality itself is just a matter of perspective? Philosophy isn't just old books and dusty theories. It's about the questions that cut right to the heart of human existence. Questions about reality, morality, freedom, and meaning. In this video, we'll explore 10 of the most powerful philosophical thought experiments and dilemmas, not as abstract riddles, but as living questions that shape the way we think, act, and see ourselves. Let's dive in. 1. The Cave of Shadows. Imagine spending your whole life chained inside a cave. Behind you, there's a fire. In front of you, shadows flicker on the wall, cast by objects carried past the flame. Those shadows are all you've ever known. To you, they are reality. But one day, you're dragged outside. At first, the sunlight is blinding. Slowly, you begin to see real trees, real animals, the vastness of the sky. Suddenly, you realize the shadows were only illusions. This ancient metaphor asks, how much of what we call reality is just shadows on the wall? Are we mistaking appearances for truth? And if you discovered a deeper reality, would anyone believe you if you went back to tell them? 2. The Ship That Changed and Stayed the Same. A legendary ship begins to rot. Piece by piece, its wooden planks are replaced. Years later, not a single original plank remains. Is it still the same ship? Now imagine rebuilding the old ship from the discarded parts. Which one is the real ship? This isn't just about boats. It's about identity. You've replaced nearly every cell in your body over the years. Are you still the same person you were as a child? Or are you, in some sense, a completely new being wearing the same name? 3. The Trolley Tracks of Morality. A runaway trolley speeds toward 5 people tied to the tracks. You stand near a lever that could divert it, but onto a track where one person is tied down. Do you pull the lever, sacrificing one to save 5? Or do you let fate take its course? The dilemma forces us to wrestle with 2 moral perspectives. Utilitarianism, which values the greatest good for the greatest number, and deontological ethics, which insists that how we act matters as much as the outcome. The trolley problem isn't just theory. Today it applies to self-driving cars, medical triage, and military decisions. 4. Freedom or illusion. Every choice you make feels free. Deciding what to eat, where to go, what to believe. But determinism challenges that. It claims that every event, including your decisions, is the product of prior causes. Your biology, your environment, the laws of physics. If determinism is true, then free will might just be a story our brains tell us. But if we don't have freedom, what happens to morality, responsibility, and justice? Compatibilists offer a middle ground. Maybe our actions are shaped by causes, but as long as they flow from our reasoning and desires, they still count as free. So the question remains, are you choosing to watch this video, or was that choice written into the fabric of the universe long before you clicked play? 5. The Weight of Existence. Existential angst isn't just an academic term. It's the shiver that runs through you when you realize life has no built-in script. The universe doesn't hand you meaning. You have to create it yourself. This realization can feel terrifying, like standing at the edge of a cliff with infinite possibilities below. But it can also be liberating. If nothing dictates your purpose, you have the freedom to shape it. Philosophers like Kierkegaard, Sartre, and Heidegger argued that this anxiety isn't a flaw. It's the price of freedom. To live authentically, we must face the void and write our own story. 6. When nothing matters. Nihilism declares that life has no inherent meaning, value, or purpose. No divine plan, no absolute morality, just an indifferent universe. To some, this sounds depressing. If nothing matters, why do anything at all? But Nietzsche saw it differently. He warned against sinking into despair, but also argued that nihilism clears the ground for a new kind of freedom, the power to create our own values, our own purpose. The question is, when faced with a meaningless universe, will you give up, or will you take the blank canvas and start painting? 7. Alone in the mind. Have you ever wondered if you're the only real person in existence? That everything, people, objects, even the stars, might just be projections of your mind? This is solipsism, the idea that only your consciousness is certain to exist. After all, everything you know comes through your senses. You've never touched reality directly, only your brain's interpretation of signals. It's unsettling but also fascinating. If we can't prove the external world exists, why do we trust it? Most of us simply assume it's real, otherwise life becomes unbearably lonely. 8. Why do we suffer? If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and perfectly good, why does evil exist? Why pain, cruelty, injustice? Some argue that free will requires the possibility of evil. Others say suffering builds strength and character, and some suggest that our limited perspective simply can't grasp divine justice. But skeptics push back. The sheer scale of suffering in the world makes the existence of a benevolent God hard to accept. This is the problem of evil, and it's still one of the most profound challenges in philosophy of religion. 9. The heap that disappeared. You start with a heap of sand. Remove one grain. It's still a heap. Remove another and another. At what point is it no longer a heap? This puzzle, known as the Sorite's paradox, shows how vague concepts can create contradictions. The same logic applies to baldness, age, even identity. When exactly does change cross the line into something new? It forces us to admit that many of our categories, tall, rich, young, old, don't have sharp boundaries. Reality often refuses the neat definitions we try to impose on it. 10. Two worlds or just one? Is the mind separate from the body, or are they one and the same? Dualists argue that consciousness is immaterial, something beyond the physical brain. If true, maybe the mind could survive the body's death. Monists disagree. For materialists, the mind is the brain. Thoughts and feelings are simply neurons firing. For idealists, the reverse is true. Reality itself is mental, and matter exists only as perceptions. This ancient debate is still alive today, with neuroscience pushing toward materialism, but leaving the hard problem of consciousness. How subjective experience arises from brain matter? Unresolved. These 10 thought experiments aren't just clever puzzles. They're invitations, challenges to step outside the cave, question identity, wrestle with morality, and confront existence itself. Philosophy isn't about memorizing theories. It's about living with deeper awareness. It's about daring to ask, what is real? Who am I? What matters? So, which of these ideas shook you the most? And more importantly, how will you let it shape the way you live? Thanks for joining me in the Questioning Flame. If you enjoyed this journey, hit like, subscribe, and share your own thoughts in the comments. After all, the best experiments happen when minds collide.